One thing that one of the youth said to me that really touched me when the little girl said, Mr. Coy, do y'all get paid for this? And I said, no, baby, we don't get paid for this. And she said, well, y'all do this. I said, that's what we do. She said, y'all do this because y'all love us. And, you know, I'm an old Marine, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, I really had to walk away from the little girl. I couldn't even answer her because it hit me pretty hard. You know, I was tear up because that's what those kids are missing.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Missions That Made Them. I am your host, Jason Verdelli. This isn't just a podcast, but rather it's a movement. It's a movement designed to make the world a better place by bringing more awareness to the great work of the people and organizations making a difference, and more importantly, how you can help. We live in a world today surrounded by a narrative in the media that focuses in on negativity and draws attention to the problems, but not the solutions. Our guests represent the solutions, not the problems. And with that, I am super, super excited to introduce Coy Poitier with FAWC Conservatory for Conservatory of Arts and Sciences. And these guys are just doing really, really amazing things with education, both with adult education, with younger generation, with the education there, and really connecting them to the sciences. And I love this because I am really a science nerd by heart. So I love watching Science Channel. I love going out into nature and really, you know, connecting the educational process to that, which I kind of do naturally, you know, sort of outside of my years in school. So without further ado, Coy, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Excellent. So, Coy, tell us a little bit about what a FAWC Conservatory is about.
You kind of said it. Our goal is to promote arts and sciences to youth and adults in areas where arts and sciences is not usually introduced. So we like to go into the inner city areas, and we like to go into some of those communities that are underserved and kind of help them to kind of check out other arts and sciences. Once I tell people a lot of times, years ago, I wanted to be a part of NASA, but I thought that was something that I couldn't do, so I never explored it. So our goal is to go into these neighborhoods and say, yes, you can do these things. All you got to do is put your mind to it, and you can do it.
That's excellent. So what kind of programming, can you tell us a little bit about some of the programming there that's involved?
We kind of changed up. At first, we started off, I've been a musician since the 70s. And I'm also a filmmaker. So we started off teaching the youth how to play instruments. We started off with, teaching filmmaking, dance, acting. But, it was sort of an after school program. So during that time, when kids came, we noticed that they were hungry. A lot of those kids would come in. They really just wanted to, get a snack. And they were, sort of interested in the program, but really just more interested in snack. We found out that majority of those kids, that was the last meal that they were going to have for the day. And if it was a Friday, that was the last meal they were going to have again until Monday morning when school started again. Oh. So we had to kind of change up the focus and not just focus on, trying to teach these kids something their mind wasn't really focused on because they were hungry. We started, now we're into urban farming. And so we're teaching the kids not only how to grow their own food, we teach them how to turn that into businesses. And they can use that to help their families. They can use that to forward their careers.
Yeah, that is incredible.
It's
incredible. So how do you find, how do either the kids, how do they learn about you? I know you said you go into the inner cities and so forth, but how do you get connected?
Well, the good thing about it, we have two locations. One of the locations is where our urban farm is, and the other location is in the Pleasant Grove area. 9415 Bruton Road. And at that location is an apartment complex. So the kids are already there. It's about 200 plus units. And there's kids that's already at that location. So basically we give them a safe place to come. Our doors are always open. Now, since COVID and since the last year's storm, it kind of damaged our facility and we're not able to be there as much anymore. So most of our focuses have to be outside. And so we're kind of trying to work that out. But yeah, literally to answer your question, our Pleasant Grove location is right on site where there's plenty of kids at that apartment complex.
Yeah. So they electively come? Is that really where you see most of the student or kids and they participating? Are they're coming there saying, hey, I want to learn more about X, Y, and Z, or how does that experience look like?
We did two important things. We had snacks and music. We would open our doors.
Good way to do it.
Open our door, turn speakers on, and put the latest tracks on. And we have those snacks waiting for them. And once they come inside our place, we tell them it's a safe place, they were sold. They were there. So we were able to teach them. But it was really more important just to put something in their bellies, because literally that was it until the next day for them. And so my wife, sometimes we have snacks, but my wife, she loves to cook. So she would really, cook some hot dogs, burgers, things like that, whatever we can get donated. And that way we get the kids. And it wasn't a Monday, Wednesday and Friday situation. This was a Monday through Saturday situation for us. We were there every day. So we're trying to get back to that same format.
What's the story behind this to get to where, what really brought you into, what sort of ignited you to become part of this?
Well, my mom and my father, they founded the program, and it was for her desire to make sure the same thing, kids not have to feel like they can't do it. She came from a small town in Louisiana, and some things that she may have wanted to do, she may not have had access to. And that's the same thing as some of these kids in some of the inner cities and some of the underserved communities. They may not know of opportunities. And I serve on a board for Dallas County, and I took maybe 5 of those kids from Pleasant Grove to downtown Dallas for that meeting. And it was just amazing to me to understand that some of those kids had never even been downtown. And we're talking about in the same city. And so that's why it's so important to me to be able to introduce different things to these kids, because inside that apartment complex or across the street to the school is pretty much all these kids see for months and months. Maybe they take a field trip somewhere else, but for months and years, they literally only see what's in the community. So for me, it's just a passion to introduce these youth and adults even to things they've never seen. That's my passion. I've been doing nonprofit work since 1995.
Wow. That's incredible. And what's cool about this, it's not connected to any educational. All right, let me ask the question. Is it somehow at all, in some way, shape, or form, this isn't connected to any other organization? This is just self-run, right?
It's self-run, self-financed. We've connected with some other urban farms, which I'll get into a little bit later on, what we're doing urban farming. But literally self-funded. We've had a few grants in the past with Walmart and things like that. But since COVID, a lot of things have been shut down. So we're trying to come back up now. Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, the fact that you've identified this connection, this missing connection, probably in a lot of cases with the educational system. You learn about these things, right? You may learn about, the science and the different parts of the science and also with like things like farming, everything else, but getting out and actually doing it, right? And actually exposing the members of society here that don't have access, maybe the same access, especially to maybe either the quality of education as well as just access to some of the opportunities, that are there, and taking that proactive measure that you have, or your parents obviously starting that and continuing that is huge. I mean that's huge. I mean, what really, I guess from that standpoint, where do you see the gap in traditional education? Somebody that's listening to this saying, "Hey, okay, my son or daughter or whoever goes to, public school and everything like that." I mean, where's the, what's that difference between the education they maybe get there especially in the the sciences, and then what you're doing with the hands-on approach?
I think that's pretty much it, is the hands-on approach. We have smaller numbers in some of the schools where some of the classes are maybe 30, 40 students where they can't. I'm sure some of the teachers do have a desire, but that's why it's important to have nonprofits like ours that when those kids get out of school, they have somebody who can that has no problem or no restrictions of being able to hold hands with these youth, face to face with these youth, teach them, just sometimes even give them love. One thing that one of the youth said to me that really touched me when the little girl said, "Mr. Coy, do y'all get paid for this?" And I said, "No, baby, we don't get paid for this." And she said, "Well, y'all do this." I said, that's what we do. She said, "Y'all do this because y'all love us." And, you know, I'm an old Marine, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, I really had to walk away from the little girl. I couldn't even answer her because it hit me pretty hard. You know, I was tear up because that's what those kids are missing. A lot of times there's somebody to show that they truly care. It's not just about a paycheck. And we understand teachers getting paid. I'm not saying that.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is I think the addition of and the schools and private organizations and nonprofits working together is what's going to be needed because there's so many kids coming through. So, yeah, I think schools are doing a great job. It just need assistance.
Yeah, I think it's not a bash on public schools or anything. I mean, they're not designed that way, right? They're designed, you know, in a way where a lot of that agenda is also being pushed from top down, right? Yes. So, you know, even though maybe content teachers would want to be able to do certain things, they might have certain restrictions to some of those things, and that's really your gig. I mean, really is to be hands on, and you know, if anything, maybe partnering with the schools makes again, that seems to make a lot of sense. You know, going partaking in that. I mean, do you find is that happening at all, where the schools are maybe promoting it, or you know, sending their kids over there for a day, or how is that? Is there any activity there?
Yeah, we have relationships with individual teachers. There's teachers that will reach out to us when they're having a food drive. So we get a lot of food in. So we would take a portion of that food to some of the schools like Pleasant Grove Elementary. We would take a portion of our groceries or produce to them. And so a lot of the teachers would even reach out to us if they have an issue with one of the youth and they know we've impacted. They would contact us because a lot of times it's just grandmother at the home, and grandmother can't do anything with those kids. So with me being in that place, they can see me as a big brother figure, or maybe I wouldn't say father figure, but they can see me as a big brother figure because they know I will not tolerate a lot of the things. And so if that means that you can't come today, which to some of those kids is very important, we'll give you a snack, but you're not going to come in here and watch the movies. You're not going to get in here and play the video games. So we send them home. That is a huge impact on those kids. And I think things like that, the schools working with us on teacher level may not be at school level because there may be some political things involved or some policies that they can't. But individually, yes, we do have teachers that work with us.
Well, that's great too. Especially, again, you don't have to worry about going through the bureaucracy of a school.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of a lot of that agenda being pushed down from the top down from people that have really the people that are making some of those decisions have no idea what goes on in the inner cities, what goes on in some of these areas, and really they're making decisions on content and what's being taught. And in my view, I think, you know, having the flexibility and freedom to as a content teacher, as the person that's actually interacting with the student who is trained to identify, you know, student issues, problems, things like that, and opportunities to be able to provide guidance to that student. I think, you know, what you're doing is you're providing a solution for that. So this is a way for them also to, you know, we always say, you know, what do we got to do to keep our kids from getting in trouble? What is there to do? You know, like I used to hear this growing up, which is like, hey, there's nothing for them to do, or it's this and that. And it's like, yeah, there is. There is, if you're connected and if you know where to look. So I think, you know, the fact that you're helping them and providing those experiences, and also, you know, again, taking the you mentioned this, taking the approach of getting them connected to the teaching them how to farm, or teaching them how to garden, things like that, and then turning that into businesses potentially. That's huge, because that connection from education to business and to the professional world, I think, is hugely lacking. Even in the college, in some of these areas. I went to college, and of course, you know, you connect with industry a little bit, but man, it would be a lot better if you connected with it a lot earlier in life too, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So tell us about, I know you get into other things, right? You've mentioned about the farming and different things and different, you know, just different areas. Can you just go over a couple of those?
Yes. What we did was we were able to My parents were starting a church in Lancaster. She had 3.5 acres, and she donated about an acre of that to the nonprofit to where we could start the garden. So we were able to, out of a grant, well, I wouldn't even say a grant, out of a donation, the Walmart, and this is how God does things. A Walmart in Dallas was shutting down, and they literally wanted somebody to come and get everything from the garden center. So it happened to be in place where one of our board members had a box truck. He literally let us borrow the box truck, and we were able to get the entire garden center from Walmart. So
wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. You can imagine hundreds of plants, thousands of seeds, ended up being like 60 plus fruit trees. The thing is, we were doing that, because the manager asked us to help. Literally, I had no clue about farming. We brought it back to the property. We gave a lot away. We used some of it for fundraising. But I called Texas A&M to come out and look at them. And they came out and said, hey, y'all have this property. Why don't y'all plant some of this stuff? From that story made short, they sent my wife and I, because we did some good planting, they liked it. They sent my wife and I to Master Gardener School. So we were both able to become Texas Certified Master Gardeners, where we turn around and use that to teach the kids. And we're working on a junior master gardener program now where we could kind of give these kids a certification and a badge, which makes a huge difference. And so right now we're taking that acre and we're using it. We bring people out, let the kids learn about aquaponics, hydroponics, how to grow their food. And one of the real big things we teach them is about the three sisters. And the three sisters is a method of planting that came back from, I believe, the 1800s, where they would do corn, beans, and squash. And those three vegetables will work together as a team to grow, one for protection, ground cover, support. That we use that method to teach the kids how to work together. So we use that to say, this is how they're going to start their business. You can't do everything by yourself. So if y'all can come and create partnerships, create businesses, create networking, and we do all that through the Three Sisters method.
Wow. I mean, that's so cool. Yeah, because it is true. I mean, part of that education, part of building a business is building partnerships, whether they're legal partnerships or whether they're actually, being in business together, and or just building these partnerships with your suppliers, your vendors, your understanding that it can't just be about yourself, right? In a lot of ways. And to learn that at a young age, I mean, how young are these kids learning this?
Well, we started off with kids from like 13 on up to 18, but now once we start feeding them, as soon as they can come there, I've had my grandkids there. They were at 2 or 3 years old. They're getting their hands in the dirt. And so we've changed the program. We go from any age now. We're also working with senior citizens to get them out there in the dirt. Getting their hands dirty.
So what's really cool too is what I love about what you're doing here is you're also, you're giving them you mentioned about the food, getting them in there with music and food and we like to think that kids would just come and want to learn this stuff and see the intrinsic value that you offer here. But at a young age, it's hard, right? It's like, okay, I'm hungry. I want to be entertained and I want to eat. Right, because just basic things, and I think what's really cool and smart on your part is that you've drawing them in with that, but then you're introducing to what might at the surface level seem boring. Not saying boring, but a kid that learning about gardening or science and things like that. I'm like, I might not learn about that, just like they would with going to school. I don't want to go to school or this and that. And I'm not saying every kid's like that. I'm not saying every kid is negative about education, but there's a lot. When you're younger, it's sometimes harder if it's not play, right? It's harder sometimes to get excited about some of those things. But what you're doing is you're drawing them in a smart way, and then you're exposing them and to this, and then like before you know it, they're like crazy. They're super excited. I would imagine they got to be super engaged, and when they see that, and I think that's a huge missing element. I think that's in society today. Is just exposing people. Once they realize what goes into this, they'll gain a whole new appreciation for what it's like to garden. I mean, my wife. Big into gardening right now. She texted me an entire plot of how she's got the onions over here. She's got the tomatoes over here. and when to seed, where it goes, how much water.
That's right.
Like, wow, how much time that goes. But she just got into that, and she's been learning everything she possibly can about it, and it excites her. Doesn't excite me quite the same, but I like to eat the food. but
Hey, that's exciting in itself.
It's exciting, and fresh food in the backyard is great. But that's got to be really, really inspiring. I mean, do you have some stories or examples of some kids or adults that have gone through the program where they've come out of this or worked this and said, "Hey, this has changed me"?
We've had one story of a young man who came in, of course, gang member, who had a rough relationship with his mother. And we gave him a herb, I believe it was a pepper plant maybe. And my wife gave him a few instructions on how to take care of it. He actually took that plant and put it on his back porch. And because of his interaction with that plant and his mother, them working to keep that plant alive together, he came back and thanked us for the plant, just a simple plant. And he said this has revived the relationship between him and his mom. Other things that we're working on now.
Wow,
I got an initiative that I'm trying to grow. It's called Greens for Greens. Well, I'm trying to encourage some of the drug dealers to say, hey, it's hard for me to tell you to come off the street. You're making money. Some of you doing this to survive. This is not a hobby for a lot of you. But how about I teach you how to grow greens? And you put those greens down and you sell these greens on that same corner legally, and that way you're not having to run, you don't have to look behind your back for if the police are coming. You can actually, sell these greens and make a good income. And they're taking to it with the program. It's kind of hard when you got guys making some real good money, but we're still encouraged. But we have different stories like that where the kids come down and be able to see from where they go from seed to harvest. That sounds like a cliche, but that is so important for those kids to see what they put something in until we're now letting them eat for what they put in. That is so important to have the follow through. And that was one of the big success we had with our last program that we did during the summer with some of the kids out there to program.
Yeah, I think that's cool too. I mean, you're giving them hope too, to say, hey, if you were making a lot of money doing this thing that's illegal, but giving them possibility, giving them hope, right? That, hey, you can do this legally, right? You can grow. You can grow something legal, be able to sell that, and you don't have to worry about all the other things that go along with that. I mean, that's hugely transformative, and.
Right.
And realizing, hey, you can feed your family, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that do that, if they're doing the illegal thing, they're doing it mainly to take care of their family or their own self, right? It's not like they're necessarily doing it for any kind of bad reasons, but at the same time, it's if you're enlightening to those things. I think we can't mask reality. Right. We can't mask the fact that these things, they don't happen. They do happen. They happen in every area, in every society. They happen more than most people even realize. Small towns, big towns. But being part of that solution, that's what I love about interviewing nonprofits. And I love this conversation here, Coy, is the solution, right? You are part of that solution. And it comes down to being able to take that next step and take the initiative, saying, hey, we want to be able to change this. And by doing that, you're changing the community, making the community better. Mm-hmm. And you're also helping into these individuals' lives at the same time. Would you agree?
Oh, yes. Yes, that's our goal. But once you get addicted, once you see one child that made it. My daughter went off to college to get a degree in agriculture business. And that shows that if from the inside of your house notices the difference, that's really important, because a lot of times your kids go a totally different direction than where you're going. But for my daughter to say, I agree with you doing enough that I want my degree to follow in that was very powerful for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, where do you see with society in general, is there a lot of this going on in other cities that you're aware of? Is there, obviously you've done a great job in your community and everything, but is this happening elsewhere?
Well, the
that you
push
know of?
for urban farming is in urban gardening is starting to go more because the problem of food deserts and food insecurity.
Right.
You have a lot of different definitions of food deserts. Some people believe it's to be due to redlining. Some people believe it to do with the bad agriculture or whatever, and the shortage of food. Whatever the reason is, there's people who are coming up with solutions, and a lot of that is community gardens, small urban farms, so people can have food locally, fresh locally. As you know, in a lot of the underserved communities, you have a big issue of diabetes, heart disease, cancer, strokes. A lot of that's because of what they're eating. A lot of that's because what's close to them. As we're finding out, for some of the single mothers and single fathers, it takes them 3 hours sometimes to be able to get food on the table because they have to ride the bus system. And so for some of us to get in the car, go to the store, 15 minutes later, we're back home. That's an issue for some people in some communities. And so the push for local, fresh, close to the neighborhood food is starting to become a real big initiative in a lot of cities and a lot of rural areas as well. And we're just trying to push it here in Dallas County.
Well, and what's cool is you're also enabling them to do it themselves, right? So you can enable them to learn how to grow highly nutritious food, right? Yes. You can enable versus having to ride 3 hours in a bus or that travel back and forth to be able to get the same kind of quality food, as well as, but also, I mean, that stems into better health for the society, as I see it.
That's true.
Right? Would you agree? I mean, it's if people are educated on how to garden and how to grow their own food, and you become less dependent upon, highly overprocessed food. You become more educated on nutrition in the process, right? Because if you're going to spend time planting this stuff, what you're doing is you're also educating people in that regard. And I mean, I think, man, if everybody did that, if they could, not saying everybody has to make a garden today. However, if people started taking control and of their own access to food and saying, hey, maybe we can grow this versus having to spend, the ever-growing rising prices of vegetables, right? It's like, what's the inflation right now and everything is crazy. So yeah, like good nutritious food, the problem in America especially is good nutritious food is not cheap, right?
I like to expand on I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I like to expand on the teach a man how to fish situation.
Yeah.
I like to add to that to teach them how to, not really grow the fish, but teach them how to have a fish nursery as well. So therefore, those fish that they're going to fish for, they already have them. And that's the same thing I do about the food. Not only we teaching people how to grow their own food, but teach them how to turn into business. The food is there, like you just said. There's ways to grow food on a balcony. We've partnered with Restorative Farms in Dallas, and they have maybe about 200 4x4 boxes, and they're allowing residents to come out there and get their own box and learn how to grow their own food right there on site with them as well. And so things like that is what's going to change for the people, is allowing them opportunities to learn how to grow their own food.
Yeah. That is really part of the solution here, I think. Yeah, it's teaching them how to do it, but also not just teaching them how to fish, right? It's teaching them how to have the fish farm.
That's it.
So the fish are always there, and that, big believer on this podcast and the message I'm trying to push with this movement of making the world a better place by bringing more awareness to the great work of organizations such as yourself, is to, when we identify these things, then we can be part of that. We as individuals can be part of that solution, right? We're not relying on other things. Rely on the government. Let's rely on school systems to be able to provide that, which is also part of the government in a lot of ways. We rely on things and we expect things to come to us. We're going to be going to live a life of high disappointment. If we create things, we learn how to be creators, like we were thousands of years ago to survive, right?
That's it.
We are, you become pandemic proof when it comes to the food. We're relying on the food supply chain. You're not relying on the government and inflation and things like that, because when inflation happens, guess what? It's harder to buy food. People are buying crappy food because, well, it's affordable. You rely less, and guess what? There's also this level of satisfaction that comes with creating your own food. And my gosh, I will attest it tastes better, but there's got to be that level of satisfaction, right? This is part of that entire experience, right?
Oh yeah, they when they eat their own food, those young men that we had in that program, when they were able to let some people from the program that participated in the program to eat their food, if you would have saw the faces of those young men, it was just amazing. It just made me want to do more, grow the program, and do more. And so, that's exactly where we are, trying to teach them to be self-sufficient, so they're not sitting around waiting. And when it doesn't come, they get discouraged. No, if it doesn't come, you go do it yourself.
Right. So this is clearly part of the solution, I think, that America needs, the world needs to be a better place, right? By being more self-sufficient, by taking control of your food system, taking control of your education, taking control of your outlook and inspiration on others, right? So if you've gone through this, you've been part of this program or whatever, also sharing the word with others. And I think that control at an individual level, if we all do that, guess what? This world does become a better place, because we, the people, start to work together towards a solution, versus voting, realizing, okay, let's put people in a position of power. They're going to change that for us. No. It could happen. Yes, no, but that just creates a lot of inner fighting, I think, between societies, because some people, well, we wish you would have did it this way. We wish you would have did it that way. Well, how about we do this? There is then you're not relying. If it's nice if people in position of power influence these things, make food, less, great food less expensive. Great. Right. Excellent. But that, if you rely on that happening, then I think as a society, we're just, we're doomed to fail. But I think if we as the people look for solutions like this and what you've done, which I totally, I love what you're doing. And I think that if everybody adopted that approach and was able to at least support that approach, this world truly does become a better place, because we control it. So this leads me to my other question here is, how does somebody become part of that solution? How do people support you?
We look for other mentors who have a desire and passion to bless the kids and give them education. We want leaders to come out and train leaders. And so that's one way. If we have big food drives sometime out in Pleasant Grove, so they can keep contact on the website. They'll see when we get ready to have a food drive. Just come down and drop off some food. And not only drop off some food, hand out some hot dogs. Let them see a face that's not always look like theirs, and to come out and for some of the communities. Don't worry about bring your cars down there. Ain't nobody going to take your cars. Come down there and let them see people from other areas that care. Come out to the garden, and while you learn, come out there and volunteer sometimes. Put your hands in the dirt. We love to teach. We have a couple of certified master gardeners to come out. We come out there and teach. Most of the time there's no charge. We just love to teach. Just come out. Yep. One way is we do need help with our fundraising because of COVID. It's kind of put a hold on us. So we're still paying the bills and all the stuff out of pocket. So we got an office and things. So sometimes we have a fundraising drive. Go to our Facebook and donate on the fundraising drives. The donations start small as $1. Whatever it is, it will help us kind of keep the lights on and keep the program going. So that's really it. Just really help us keep the mission going.
And I think, if you could donate your time, if you don't have the time, hey, donate money. What a better transaction, right? What a better place. If you believe in everything we've been talking about today and the points that Coy brought up, you believe in us, the people taken control of their food system, being part of the educating younger kids to create a future that's not relying on other people. If you believe that, if you don't have the time to volunteer, maybe you're not in the area, that type of thing, donate your money. What a better transaction. What a better, $1, $5. Man, you're going to get so much better feeling from that than you will from, and maybe this is hard for someone to believe, but then you might spend on $20 on Netflix, right? I mean,
true.
what a better feeling that you would get by knowing you're changing the lives, you are part of that solution. I mean, that is absolutely huge, and there's no better feeling in the world than that. The ROI for you as an individual, I think, to be able to support an organization like this is absolutely exponentially greater than anything else that you can possibly fundraise or provide your funding for, or the extra money that you have. What a better way to do it. So. Coy, tell us what's the website, some of the addresses there. I mean, obviously we'll have links in the description, but some other ways they can contact you. You mentioned Facebook. What's your website?
That's www.fawccas.com. So that's FAWCCAS.com. Same thing on Facebook. You can find us at FAWCCAS. That's Twitter as well. Check us out. We're going to post more now that we're getting back more involved with urban farming. We got a few things that's coming up. We're partnering up with a few other organizations to get ready for some programming in the summer, late spring, early summer. So check us out on the website. We would love to have you come down. My number is 214-554-6873 if you want to reach me directly. And we look forward to anybody, any help, whatever it is. We would love to, even if you just want to come learn about some tomatoes or something, just hit us up. That
is awesome. Coy, you've been an amazing guest today. Really have inspired me in a number of ways, and you represent part of the solution. You are part of the solution. Your organization is part of the solution, and I commend you for that. And I'm just super excited to see how you guys continue to grow, and want to continue the conversation with you down the road here to see where this can continue to evolve, right? See how the plant grows, right? I guess would be a better analogy.
I look forward to it.
But no, that's great. And for those of you out here, one of the easiest ways you can start. By going to Coy's website, but also by taking this video here, sharing this video out, hit the share button here if you're on YouTube or wherever this is at. Also, make sure you subscribe to the Missions That Made Them, and make sure you smack the bell so you get the notifications for new episodes. So we're posting them pretty much almost every single day at this point. So, but I think that you also can be part of that solution by just sharing, right? Just by spreading the message, spreading this interview, which Coy's brought some great points. I think we covered some really good solution-oriented aspects of how we can change the world for the better. So again, just by doing that could be a huge difference. And with that said, thanks for watching, and tune in next time.